Alrighty, world history students, Tree Hall here, and the purpose of this video is to give you guys some tips on how to do the final draft of your unit of Project 1, the Agricultural Revolution essay. So I'm hoping as you're watching this that you have finished the rough draft and I have graded it and gotten it back to you with comments. And you're sitting here and you're thinking, what should I do to edit my rough draft in order to make it, get an even better grade on the final draft? And I promise you that if you watch this, you will walk away with a solid plan of attack. So let's go ahead and go through this. So first of all, a little bit of review. Here's our essay topic. The Agricultural Revolution is one of the most impactful events in human history. The purpose of this writing project is to analyze and discuss the impact of the Agricultural Revolution on human society, including the formation and development of permanent settlements and technological advancements, government and laws, religion and culture. Use specific examples from ancient civilizations to support your discussion. Now, I had mentioned in my last video that I made, in my last live class that I did on this, that the agricultural revolution should kind of be synonymous with the rise of civilization, because I don't want you to stick yourself into Mesopotamia as you're writing this essay. That's where people think the agricultural revolution began. And instead, I want you to really kind of take a look at all the civilizations we covered in our first two units and be able to talk about those civilizations. So this really is an essay about the rise of civilization, which was directly caused by the agricultural revolution. Okay, more review. Remember, the first step to writing an essay is to turn the topic into a question with a question mark. So what we're writing about is, what was the impact of the agricultural revolution, rise of civilization on human society? And remember, you had to discuss these three things: permanent settlements and technological advancements, government and laws, religion and culture. By the way, those are kind of an either or thing. I know as I went through and did this, because I did a rough draft that I'm going to be sharing with you today, I ignored the permanent settlement thing. I kind of addressed it in my intro paragraph, and then I didn't address it throughout the rest of the essay, really, because technology is enough. So once you turn the topic into a question with a question mark, the next step to writing your essay is organizing it. And hopefully when you turned in your rough draft, you had it organized around, you had an intro paragraph, you had a main point about settlement/technology, you had a main point about government/laws, and another main point about religion and culture, and then you had your conclusion. This is what I call an essay map, and the essay that I'm going to be showing you today works through this. So let's move on to the next slide. Okay, so body paragraph detail. What was the impact of the agricultural revolution, the rise of civilization on human society? And each of your body paragraphs must address the essay question in a topic-specific way. And what I did is I reworded the topic question to answer this. And you can see that you've got each question reworded in a topic-specific way. So what was the impact of permanent settlements and technological advancements on human society? What was the impact of government and laws on human society? What was the impact of religion and culture? Now, mainly today, we're going to be focusing on how to align your body paragraph to your thesis statement to your analysis. And so we're going to come back to this slide. Another thing that I want to show you here. Remember your intro and conclusion detail. Your intro has to do two things. It introduces readers to your topic, in this case, the rise of civilization that was caused by the agricultural revolution, must answer the topic question, and then your conclusion needs to do two things: remind readers, restate the thesis. When we move forward to body paragraph detail, your body paragraph needs to answer the question, the topic question, in a body para-specific way. Each body paragraph needs to have 2 to 3 items from at least 2 civilizations to discuss. Good body paragraphs begin with strong topic sentences. These sentences must answer the topic question, be a 1-sentence summary of the paragraph, and each body paragraph must do 2 things: describe the 2 to 3 items you choose to write about in good detail. Who, what, when, and where, dates are always good, and explain how these items impacted human society. And this is something I think is really important, and I'll be showing you this in the essay that we talk about. Your description can come from the lessons in Wikipedia, your information. but your explanations have to come from your mind. And actually, they're easier than you think. There's not wrong explanations. There's just logical and illogical. So what I want to do right now is I want to leave this PowerPoint and I want to go to an essay, and I'm going to show you how to make sure that your essay is addressing all of these things. Actually, I'm going to go back to the next slide. So an essay starts with the intro paragraph, right? So remember, your intro has to do two things: introduce readers to your topic and answer the topic questions. So now let's take a look at an essay. So here's a sample essay. I think it's good sometimes for teachers to go in and write essays themselves on the essay topics, because then we can see the same problems that you guys are facing. We can kind of see. And so I went through in the last few days and I wrote this up, and here's what we have. Sometime around 7500 BC, in a fertile region on the northern side of what would later come to be called the Fertile Crescent, Neolithic tribesmen settled down and began forming a city they called Qtul-Hayuk. This seemingly unimportant event would later be called the Agricultural Revolution, and it would give rise to civilization and completely transform human society. Because of its success, soon Qtul-Hayuk would be one of many agricultural settlements, and the complex society that evolved from this way of life would create civilizations all around the planet. The agricultural revolution and the rise of civilization that it caused impacted human society by spurring technological innovation, creating formal laws and governments, and giving rise to complex religions and cultures. These developments by early civilizations enriched their people's lives and allowed the civilizations to expand and dominate the areas around them. Now let's go back to what we need to do in an intro paragraph. First, you need to introduce your readers to the topic. So we need to introduce our readers to the topic of agricultural revolution. When you look on this, okay, Neolithic, that's when the agricultural revolution happened. Fertile Crescent, that's where it happened. 7500 BC is when it began. And Qtul-Hayuk is the first city that we recognize as being a modern city, in the sense of city, having what they call the 5 key traits of civilization, which is what caused the agricultural revolution. We also have a reference by name to the agricultural revolution. One of the ways to look at what you have to do in the first maybe 2 to 3 sentences of your intro is you have to give your readers enough knowledge to understand your thesis statement. Now remember, your thesis statement is going to have to answer the topic question. In this particular essay, the thesis statement is highlighted in yellow. The agricultural revolution and the rise of civilization that it caused impacted human society by spurring technological innovation, creating formal laws and governments, and giving rise to complex religions and cultures. That is enough of an answer to the topic question, and we know that it answers the topic question because we see some of the question in it. Remember, our topic question was, what was the impact of the agricultural revolution or rise of civilization on human society? We have that. It created technological advances, it created formal laws and governments, and it gave rise to complex religions and cultures. The additional part down here is just added information to kind of help me elaborate on that. So you can see that it says these developments by early civilizations enriched their people's lives and allowed civilizations to expand and dominate the areas around them. When you look at what goes up here, it's what we need to give the reader to understand this statement. Maybe the readers never heard of the agricultural revolution, but guess what? We just educated them about that. It happened in the late Neolithic era. It happened in a place called Qtul-Hayuk, which is in modern-day Turkey, which is also part of the Fertile Crescent. And it was basically when people settled down to start farming. They stopped chasing the herd, they started farming, and it radically changed our lives. So when you look at this, this is how to have a good intro paragraph that does all the things that an intro paragraph must do. Another thing that I want you to notice. 1, 2, whoops, whoa, didn't want to do that. 3, 4, 5 sentences. I did it again. This was 5 sentences. A good intro paragraph is going to be about 5 or 6 sentences. And I tend to write long sentences, so you can see that it's a big chunk of words. Another way to look at this, you can always do tools. I'm using Google Docs here because most of us are using Chromebooks. So that's 145 words. A good solid paragraph is at least 125 words. So that's a pretty long paragraph. By the way, just as you're looking at things, you should kind of keep in mind that that I'm losing my thought process here. You want to keep in mind that an intro paragraph is always a little shorter than a body paragraph. So that's just something. Generally, I think our body paragraphs are going to be a little bit longer. One more thing that I wanted to emphasize about this intro paragraph. In general, there's 2 elements in an essay. There is fact and opinion. Another way to look at that is there's 2 elements in an essay. There's information and there's analysis. The information demonstrates that you have knowledge about a subject, and you always want to, especially in a history essay, give me the who, what, where, and when. This is the stuff you get from Wikipedia. Where did I go to get this answer? I looked up Qetul-Hayuk on Wikipedia, and I got 7500 BC. I got the right spelling of the name. I got the place that it was located, which is actually Anatolia, which is southern Turkey, but I also knew that that was part of the Fertile Crescent, and it mentioned that in the Wikipedia article. So that is information, but then the bottom part is explanation. This comes from my mind, and there were 2 things that I put in here. One, I'm hinting about what my body paragraphs are going to be. And then the second is really what I feel the agricultural revolution did. It enriched people's lives, and it allowed civilizations to expand and dominate the areas around them. You know, nowadays we pretty much run this planet. Back in the Neolithic era, we kind of had to share it with woolly mammoths and all that stuff, and we weren't really the boss that we are now. Okay, so that's how to check your intro paragraph. You need to compare it against the 2 questions. You need to say, did I introduce my readers to my topic? Did I answer the topic question? We'll come back to the conclusion in a little bit. Now let's move to the body paragraph detail. So again, let's not forget that in the body paragraphs, we need to answer the topic question. We need to have 2 or 3 items that we're going to write about, and we need to discuss at least 2 civilizations in each. And then here's something that I'm going to fix while you guys are watching. Good body paragraphs begin with strong topic sentences. These topic sentences must answer the topic question, be a 1-sentence summary. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back. Oh, there's where I wanted to go. So remember that when you're doing your body paragraphs, each of your body paragraphs must address the essay question in a topic-specific way, and there are 1-sentence answer to the questions that we have here. So in my first body paragraph, where I'm going to talk about technological advances, what I need to have is an answer to this question. What was the impact of technological advancements on human society? And the place to put that answer is at the very first sentence of your body paragraph. And remember that sentence is called a topic sentence. It does 2 things. It answers the topic question, and it's a 1-sentence summary of the paragraph. Now let's go to my essay. Okay, the ancient Chinese and Greeks and Romans had many technological innovations. One of the most important Greek inventions was the water screw, which is believed to have been invented by Archimedes after he visited Egypt in the 3rd century BC. By the way, where did I get this? Wikipedia. This device could be turned by hand or by harnessing an animal to a post, and enabled ancient people to pull water from rivers or lakes to be dumped into irrigation canals. The ancient Greeks and later the Romans also developed superior road technology, creating stone roads with excellent drainage that in many cases are still being used today. Now I'm transitioning from Greeks and Romans to Chinese. Like the ancient Greeks and Romans, early Chinese civilization produced many innovations that helped both their societies and future civilizations as well. The 4 great inventions developed by ancient Chinese are the compass, gunpowder, and you can see I put dates on these, paper making, and printing. The innovations listed here are just a few of many technological advancements produced by ancient civilizations, but all of these advancements helped enrich the lives of people and societies they were created in. The advancements helped people to farm better and connect their cities and expand trade, to explore new lands, to fight their enemies, and to spread information. Now, going back to what we're supposed to do here, Generally, when I grade essays, I find that the greatest weakness in body paragraphs is they seldom have topic sentences, or if they do, the topic sentences are not very good. And the way to test this is this. So there's my topic sentence. Topic sentence would be the first sentence there. And there's a couple ways to test this. One, it must be a one-sentence summary of the paragraph. So we look at this. Okay, the ancient Chinese and the Greeks and Romans had many technological innovations. Throughout the rest of this paragraph, I talk about those. So yeah, I suppose in that sense, that topic sentence kind of passes the muster. The second thing is it must answer the topic question. Now remember, the topic question was, what was the impact of early technological advancements on human society? And in this, I find that it doesn't say anything. So how do I fix that? Well, here's how. I leave the part that I have, and then I say this. The ancient Chinese and Greeks and Romans had many technological innovations that allowed them to master their environments and made their people's lives easier. Now, question that we have to ask ourselves, what impact did this have on society? Do we have an answer? And the answer now is it allowed them, these innovations allowed their people to master their environments and made their people's lives easier. Does it jibe with what we have? Yeah, sure. Like when you look at the water screw, this actually allows you to irrigate your fields. That both masters your environment and it makes your life easier. It also fits in with my thesis. Remember, it says enriched people's lives, allowed the civilizations to expand and dominate the areas around them. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to put this in yellow because what I've done now is I've used that sentence to tie my body paragraph to the thesis statement. The thesis statement was that the early development, the developments by early civilizations and the agricultural revolution that caused those enriched people's lives and allowed civilizations to expand and dominate. Now, here's where I could have gone wrong here. If I would have said the ancient Chinese and Greeks and Romans had many technological innovations that made their lives harder and caused them to not do well in their environments, that would have been a wrong statement because it goes against the word enriched and expand. So that's another thing. When you look at the thesis statement, you want to look at enrich and expand and dominate. That's what we have to match in our topic sentences. By the way, if you have a good topic sentence does two things. It provides a one-sentence summary of the entire paragraph. It answers the topic question, and you will notice that it matches your analysis. Now, remember, all essays are made of two things, information and analysis, or fact and opinion. The first part of this body paragraph, this is all basically Wikipedia. This is just, or if you want to use your lessons, that's fine too. The way to have good information in a body paragraph is you make sure that you've got nice detail. By the way, what if my body paragraph was too short? You know what I would have done? I would have just added one more invention. Or I would have discussed the Chinese inventions in more detail. What I realize is, oh, this is getting to be a long body paragraph. Here, let's do a word count here. Again, 150 would be normal. Anything past that is probably long. So we go word count, 228. Yep, long enough. I can't go any further. So on this one, I didn't need to do that. But what I did need to do is make sure that I analyze this. And the other thing that you have to make sure you're doing in your body paragraph is you have to ask yourself how, I just listed a bunch of inventions. How did those inventions impact society? And then, and also, how do I tie this to my thesis statement? Now, in my thesis statement, I'm saying that the agricultural revolution and all the developments it caused enriched people's lives and allowed them to expand and dominate. Notice I have enriched the lives that help them to farm better, to connect, to spread information. Yes, that's expanding and dominating. So do you see how this all matches? Let's go down to our next body paragraph. Another institution well developed early on after the agricultural revolution was that of law and government. The most famous law system in the ancient world was the Code of Hammurabi, developed by the Sumerians in 1760 BC. Hammurabi's code, placed on stone pillars throughout his empire, upheld the notion that the state, a civilization's government, was responsible for protecting the security and property of its people, and the code punished those who violated others' property or security. By the 5th or 6th century BC, the ancient Greeks had innovated government to a degree where citizens' rights were often spelled out, and the ancient Athenians created the world's first democracy under Cleisthenes and Pericles. From about 600 BC through 300 BC, citizens in most of Greece's many city-states met regularly in assemblies, debating and voting on issues that affected their lives. By 509 BC, the Romans, who had extensive dealings with the Greeks, advanced Greek ideas of government even further. The Romans founded a republic, a democratic state with a written constitution, and separated the power held by government into executive, legislative, and judicial branches. By the way, does that sound familiar? The Romans believed that dividing a government's power into multiple branches reduced the chances of government abusing power and or making mistakes. Now comes the analysis. The Sumerians, Greeks, and Romans were not the only ancient civilizations who created laws and who developed complex governments, but many of these ideas and innovations listed here are still in use throughout the world today. The development of solid laws and efficient government impacted society by granting people greater rights and protections, giving them a say in how their society was run, and preventing abuse of power. Now, the question we have to ask ourselves, do we see evidence of enrichment and expansion? And we do. People get greater rights. That's enriching. That's expanding. Giving them a say, that's something we think is good. Preventing abuse of power. In essence, they gave people good government. When I look at this body paragraph, the only thing that's wrong is that my topic sentence here doesn't answer the question. Remember, my question would be, how did early laws and government impact society? And I just put that they were developed. So what I might say here, another institution was that of law and government. The early laws and governments established because of the agricultural revolution made their citizens' lives better and allowed empires to expand efficiently and justly. Now, that's not a statement of a fact, it's a statement of opinion, but what's important is it answers the topic question. How did early government and law impact society? First, it made people's lives better, and second, it allowed empires to expand efficiently and justly. Remember that the whole point of this is to show how civilization enriches lives and allows us to dominate. That answers those questions, and again, I'm going to put this in yellow because this is important. This ties my body paragraph back to my thesis statement. Enriched, expand, and dominate. It ties it to it. When I get to the third body paragraph, a final contribution to the ancient world today's society was the development of religion. I'm not going to read this. Just like the other two, I've got this long paragraph with lots of information, and then I have my analysis in here. And a lot of times what I find is it's easier to write a topic sentence after you've written the whole paragraph and then you look back. And so you see here, I've got something like this. Hope, okay, encountered. Society was, okay, so ancient religions and cultures that were established by and I'm not going to use the agricultural revolution here because I've said that enough. So I'm going to say the rise of civilization gave their people morality and hope, as well as bringing more justice to society. Remember, we have to have a topic sentence that answers this question. How did ancient religions and cultures impact their society. My answer is that they gave their people morality and hope, and they brought more justice to society. Is that enriching people's lives? Yes. Now, what would have been a bad statement is if I said they took away their people's morality and hope and they took away justice from society. That goes against enrichment. So again, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to tie this to my thesis statement with yellow. Now, coming back to the conclusion, little did the farmers of Qaqortoq, if I mention Qaqortoq in the intro, I need to mention it in the conclusion. And then I need to restate the thesis statement. The transformation of human society that began with the agricultural revolution was probably the most significant development in human history. That answers the impact question and has enabled humanity to achieve unparalleled accomplishments that would not be possible without the aid of civilization. So I've got all this. The other thing that you want to do as you're looking at your rough draft and you look at your final draft is you want to make sure that you have enough words. So you want to check on here. Remember, our word requirement is at least 600 words. I'm going to do a word count again. 1,028. I've got enough words there. I'm over. Teachers always like over, never under. So you're always safe when you go over the amount of words. You're never safe when you go under, or very seldom. Now, let's get back to our PowerPoint here. Okay, final essay draft or draft essay checklist. First thing, is your essay at least 600 words? Again, do a word count. Check it. If it's not, then you're not going to get an A on the essay. So if you want to get an A, you should at least have 600 words, and you're a lot safer with 800 plus. Does your thesis clearly answer the topic question? Again, go back into that intro paragraph. Do I have a thesis statement that says something like, the agricultural revolution impacted human society by, and you have an answer. Do your body paragraphs have strong topic sentences? Don't just say that China and Greece developed technology. You need to say how the technology they developed impacted their society. So you would say the technological developments of early civilizations made life easier by, and you make a statement of some kind. Do your body paragraphs have both information and analysis? Now, here's another one to think about. Number one deal I want to show you here, as you were looking at this essay, I want you to notice something because I think the same thing is going to be true with your essays. I have highlighted my analysis in yellow, and I've left the information in white. When you look at each body paragraph, you should ask yourself, okay, what ratio do we have of information to analysis? And what you're generally going to find is you're going to have at least 2/3 of your body paragraph is information and 1/3 is analysis. Every once in a while, your analysis can creep up and get closer to 1/2. You almost never have analysis being, and look at this one. This particular one is almost 3/4 information and about 1/4 analysis, just based on green or yellow and white. And you see that, and that is okay. Another reason why I want to show you this, let's say your answer to that first question, your essay is not 600 words, so you got to know on that, and you need to make your essay longer. My suggestion to you is probably, in a lot of cases, you can leave your analysis in the body paragraph alone. And the easiest way to take a short paragraph and make it a little longer is inject one more development in there and discuss it a little bit. So, for example, if I would have left the Roman stuff out, well, here, let's just do this for a second. Perfect. Look at how much shorter that paragraph is when I leave the Roman stuff out. So if I'm looking at that paragraph and I go, oh man, it just looks a little shorter. By the way, you want to make sure all your body paragraphs are the same length. Then what you do is you just add one more government in there. I start with Code of Hammurabi, I transition to Greek, I go to Roman. Maybe it's still too short. Maybe I need to talk about Han China or something like that. Don't have a long enough body paragraph on religion? We'll talk about more than one religion. Or if you've talked about two, talk about a third. Because I talked about Judaism, which becomes Christianity, which actually branches out and develops, causes the development of both Christianity and Islam. Then I talk about Buddhism and Confucianism, making sure I've got enough information here. So the easiest way to add words to your essay is by filling it full of information. And even the information, too, is different. When you look at a sentence of information, you should ask yourself, if I'm talking about the establishment of, say, monotheism, I should ask myself, did I get the who, what, where, and when? Because when I do that, it adds words. It makes it better. It makes it longer. Do your body paragraphs have both information and analysis? If you can answer yes to all of these questions, your essay is ready to go. So again, I hope this video gave you a little bit more information on what to do transitioning from the rough to final draft. And I look forward to reading all your essays. And if you need more help, let me know.